Hello and welcome to today's video, and in today's video we have a box, and in the box we have something that I have been waiting to do since I got the E92 M3. I think that it's like the #1 must-do mod on the E92 M3, and it is an exhaust, but it's not some random straight pipe. It is a titanium exhaust, which should essentially give us those nice whips during the downshifts, and it should sound overall amazingly. Now, so this is the box that it came with. It is rather large, about 23 kilograms. Surprisingly, this entire box weighs less than just the back box of the E92 M3 stock exhaust. At least this is what it feels like. So let me show you how everything was packed. Now, I have a lot of the exhaust already unpacked, but I still want to give you kind of the inside of how it came. So in the box, hopefully you can see right here, each pipe individually was wrapped in Saran wrap, as well as this kind of foamy material. The ends had additional kind of, I guess, protection on them, not to be squeezed, although I'm gonna get to it because I have seen few kind of issues, little imperfections and stuff. Some of it is kind of big if you don't know what you're doing, but again, I'll give you an entire walkthrough. But this is how each pipe came individually. Here is one of the tail pipes, I guess. That's how they came packed. They are quite chunky. I think they will look very nice, but we might modify them a little. All the parts needed to, I guess, assemble the exhaust, or at least I hope so, because I am going to be putting it together now in about 2 minutes to see if the entire exhaust is here and if the entire exhaust fits. And then here's the main part, which is just the valve part with the muffler, which again I have unwrapped. I will show you everything now in a sec, but you can see that everything is pretty much securely packed. And then right here we've got the brains, and let me see if I can actually get this to open correctly, which I did. Now inside of the box we get this little control module, which essentially connects to the battery as well as the 2 valves that allows us to kind of, you know, trigger the valves, aka open or close. We have the 2 cables, one for each valve right here. We got the main source of the power, which connects to the charger. You can see right here, we're gonna plug this up to a car directly, not just to a battery, but we're actually gonna do it properly where it actually won't drain the battery. We got some 3M if we will ever want to stick this on, I'm guessing. Now we also got this. I already took off this little red part of the cable. Now to me, this kind of looks like a fuse end, but maybe it is used in some way as an antenna just to get better reception when, you know, using the fob. Now, speaking of the fob, we have 2. Let me whip one out. And this is essentially how it looks. So many other famous brands use this similar style of fob. It is aluminium. Now this is, you know, kind of plastic, but this is aluminium. Like, it feels so rigid. It feels so high quality. Like, it feels amazing. Like, if you were to give me this and tell me that this is just some Chinese thing, I would probably think twice, because this is probably the highest quality item in this entire exhaust. Now the rest of it is fine as well, but this is quality. Before I show you the actual exhaust and show you kind of a bigger issue and a few little issues, this is the tail pipe. Now I wanted the black one specifically. They didn't have the silver one. There was also like a carbon fiber one, which I don't think would be kind of legit because it's probably not real carbon fiber. There was a titanium one which kind of changed colors, which I didn't think would fit nicely with the car, so I just went for the black ones. Now eventually we will probably end up switching those or kind of reworking them, because you can see how the actual exhaust opening is bigger compared to the inside. It actually kind of bevels in, I think you can call it that way. And yeah, I would prefer for it to kind of be open, but I'll see how it sits and then we're going to kind of decide on it. And now here we have the main part, which is the muffler with the valve itself. This is an electronic valve. Here is kind of the muffler. It looks all right. I mean, it's a muffler. But the main part here, you can see how one of the openings is open and one of the openings is closed. So this valve currently, it is closed. If this was to open, this flap inside would twist and it would basically pass through all of the sound, which basically is just a straight pipe running through the exhaust, making the kind of muffler not muffled sound. Now, so for all the welders out there, I'm going to show you how this is done. My brother does welding, and basically he was able to tell me that this looks, and this is mass produced. Hopefully this is visible nicely. From what I can see, I'm not a welder, but essentially whoever like done the beads, probably like some machine, they basically grinded that off, so you can see that everything is pretty much smooth. I've inspected everything I have open, which is most of the exhaust, and I didn't see any kind of issues with the welds. And then you can see some welds on the hook. Now there are kind of like little weird things, so you can see like a bit of a marker, hopefully right there where my finger is. Everywhere where there's a bend, there is a bit of a kind of marker sign. It's probably to tell them where to bend. But I mean, if I was selling those exhausts, I mean, I probably, you know, want to save money, but I would make sure that, you know, it's fully finished rather than kind of being left raw, if that makes sense. And I have more kind of examples to show you about the rawness of the exhaust. I understand that many people probably wanted to see the exhaust being put on and just hear the sound, but I kind of want to give you like a rundown of everything so you're kind of aware of the entire exhaust, how everything works, how everything looks, as best as I can give you, because I haven't seen like a single video that went very in detail on the exhaust. So hopefully you can see this. You can see that there's a bend here. Now, I can unbend this myself. My brother, who's a welder, he knows a lot more stuff, so he can help me out and fix this up. I will obviously notify them of this issue, and maybe I can get some money back. It would be nice, but this is probably the biggest issue of the exhaust. Now, I have like few more parts to open, so we could discover an even bigger issue, but we will see. But let me show you two more kind of raw things and what may possibly make this exhaust not fit correctly. So first off, you can see that there's some blue marker right there. That's like the least of our worries. Okay, let's try doing it this way. So you can see that this is a resonator. So the exhaust has 4 resonators, a single X pipe, but you can see that this is pretty much running straight. Now, if I was to kind of shift this over, you can see that the bottom one, I'm not sure how visible this is. Let me kind of tilt this. Yeah, so you can see that the bottom one goes further down, and basically it is not straight like this one. And what they have done is they have decided to leave this kind of run down, so it's not running parallel with this directly, but in the end they have decided to check this out, to just weld this in at an angle in order to make those two kind of end up where they need to end up for the rest of exhaust to match. Again, it's not a big deal. This won't be visible. As long as the exhaust fits, I'll be happy. I'm actually going to mention one more thing, which is something again, which my brother told me. Now, the welds. So he said that a good proper weld, now this is still alright, it's probably going to hold up. And he wasn't sure about titanium, so take this with a grain of salt. But this is welded correctly, but inside it's going to be practically impossible to see. But the welds aren't going through to the other side, and the other side doesn't appear to be welded. It looks like there is kind of a gap between the kind of 2 pieces of metal that were welded. Like again, he doesn't weld titanium, but this is something that he told me, and maybe this is something that you should kind of know. But if you do weld titanium, do let me know in the comments. So the exhaust is built right here. Hopefully you can see. Again, I'll give you a brief overview because you're going to get a closer look once we are actually going to be putting it onto the car. We have our tips. Hopefully you can see. I'm going to have them in this orientation where this middle one or the middle ones stick out further than the outside ones. But again, I'm going to give you a brief look. Now, another kind of issue, the new issue or the issue that arose was this clamp. This is gonna go on the underside, and maybe there is issue with it because it is lying directly flat on the ground. Maybe it's not meant to be in this orientation, but this clamp is really difficult to put on. You can see that this is all kind of scratched up. I took off the entire bolt. I've stretched this as hard as I could. I've put this over one of those pipes right here, and even after putting this pipe into this pipe while this was stretched, I was not able to get this properly secured. You can see some gaps around the edges. So now, rest of the exhaust, we do have the 2 resonators, the X pipe and the other 2 resonators. Now, hopefully you can see this better now that this is actually going somewhat straight while this is kind of bent outwards a bit more, but it should hopefully go together fine because this right here, it kind of bends inwards more than this. So this should actually create for an even kind of connection, and hopefully all of those kind of mounts will go together. But again, going further down the exhaust, same here. This is going to be clamped. I got the other clamps right there. Hopefully you can see. I just didn't put them on because I didn't see the reason. There is the rest of our catalytic converters. There's one catalytic converter here and one here. If you don't see them, don't worry about it, don't question it. they're here. And finally, it is the day, but similarly, like with the GT4 lip, I am sick, but this time I probably got a temperature. But, and the car is all here. Now, I not only feel like shit, but I also look like shit. Hopefully that's not an issue. But I'm going to show you the plan of action. Now, I kind of remember this to be slightly less annoying, but let me show you what we need to do. So, we need to take off this cover, but in order to take off this cover, we need to take off this front cover to get to the bolts that are on each side. Again, don't mind this, I just haven't cleaned this up from the oil. And yeah, I feel like if we're gonna get the O2 sensors removed quite easily, this job isn't going to be as annoying as I thought. Now, they aren't looking too fresh, although it looks like somebody already have removed them. So let's get to removing the covers. Very fun job. All covers are removed. Now, probably the next thing, I'm not sure if they're better to take off on the car or off the car. So I'm gonna try to remove the O2 sensors after obviously unplugging them. Okay, so honestly, my hopes are pretty low for it, just because I've heard people say that it's really difficult to take off. Well, okay, maybe the first one was just a fluke. Okay, yeah, I don't want to actually remove them now because they are still connected, just a tiny pull, and from what I've heard, you don't want to be kind of straining it, you kind of want to give it one little tug and it should be fine. Now, one thing I really hate doing are those exhaust rubber things, supports, because they take such a huge amount of force to remove, and I already broke one of those devices already. Okay, so that's somewhat out. I guess we can push out the rest. When it comes to the mounts that I'm taking off now, I feel like they are much better than what we got with the new exhaust, so we may end up running those again. They are a bit rusty, so at some point we will have to reorder them, but we'll see how the other ones fit. We should be able to slide this off, or even maybe move it the other way around. There you go. So now, the only thing which is kind of supporting this back box are the rear mounts, and obviously the exhausts are still kind of holding on together, and I just don't want to drop this on my head. I'm not sure how well this is visible, but basically this is just a hanger which we need to remove. I've already unbolted it from the rear bumper, and I hate how it bolts into the bumper because you can see that somebody already over tightened it and it cracked. Also right here, I mean there are little cracks, but it's still holding on together. But we need to remove this hanger, and once we remove the hanger, it's just 2 bolts on this side, right there, and then 2 more on the other side. I'm not sure how well you can see. Okay, this is looking quite promising. So this part is already, so this side is already off. Okay, I think I got hung up on the floor jack itself. Let me see if I can get it moved. Okay. We've done it. We've done it. I'm not gonna lie, I'm quite happy about this because I know how much of a bitch this is to deal with. But I'm not sure how we're gonna actually get out. That is such a relief. Like, we're this much closer. We're this much closer to getting everything put on. And this part of the exhaust shouldn't be that difficult. It's not as heavy as this part. So I think I'm gonna take like a 2-minute break to have some food. Yes. I don't even know what to say anymore. Let's go get food. Oh, I got it. Now just 3 more to go. Oh, no, 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 don't tell me that it's stripped. Oh, no. Ooh. Okay, this was looking quite rough, but there's actually no issue with it, which is nice. Now the other side. Oh no. In order to extract one of those 2 bolts, I just took a 9 socket and I kind of, you know, banged some other wrench onto it, and you can see that it came on nicely right there. Hopefully that's visible. There you go. Will it focus? Will it focus? Not really. Well, there you go. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side, and then we can kind of remove the exhaust. Our help has arrived. All we need to do is just remove this back portion of the exhaust. It's just holding onto this bracket. The new exhaust is already on the other side, which I will show you. But yeah, like, we are so close to taking this off. We're going to transfer everything we need from our old exhaust to our new exhaust. And I think we're going to start with this back portion, so let's go. So I know the lighting isn't the best, but the exhaust is out, so you can kind of see like the difference, how massive the original exhaust is and how much more it weighs. Now we obviously have to remove the O2 sensors. There's this bracket which we have to move over, but I mean, other than that, we are ready to put the exhaust together. So it's probably going to be difficult to see. The camera isn't pointed in the best way possible, but we've already started and we need to finish.
Depo On Da Beat.
So that bracket is somewhat on. Now what we're going to do is tighten those parts right here. Going to tighten the O2 sensors, and once the O2 sensors are tightened, this is when I'm going to tighten this part, because then we already know that this part of the exhaust is done and all we have is the rear. So as we were trying to tighten the exhaust to the exhaust manifold, we ran into a problem. Now the bolts they gave us are so much better than what it was on the car originally, but I had to go home and grab some tin wall sockets. The rear section is fitted. I still have to tighten the bolts. Now those bolts right here to the exhaust manifold, they are already tightened. We also need to tighten the O2 sensors, but other than that, like, the only thing that I'm kind of annoyed about is that they gave us 17s for those bolts, and it's really difficult to fit like a socket on it or even like a flat wrench. And even with those thin wall sockets, it still wasn't able to fit on. So like we had to kind of, where is this? So we had to kind of, you know, fiddle around to get things to work. But yeah, like filming this type of video where things aren't really working the way they're supposed to be because of little minor inconveniences. If you have filmed this type of video ever and you know that things didn't really work out, you know, it's like really difficult and you end up losing track of recording, which is what's happening here. But as soon as anything happens, I let you know, and I'll let you know how it went, just so you kind of know for, I guess, your own sake when you'll be doing this. Good luck. I'm not sure if you recall, but I've mentioned at the start of the video that this isn't really circular. It's kind of bent. And I did also mention it to the Chinese guys, and what they have said, they have actually sent me a video of a similar damaged item and showed me what to do, which is essentially to grab one of those bad boys, piece of cloth, and to kind of bend it out. And I think I could probably leave it the way it is and it would be fine, but since they have sent me a video, I might as well do it just so this is actually circular. I know you can't see me fully, but let's see if this is going to work. So I'm gonna take this right here and we're gonna bend it out a little. Okay, so this is how it's looking. It's not perfect, but it's definitely a lot better. So let me still see if it fits. It most certainly fits, so let's put those onto the car now. And here, a small disaster struck, and my DJI wireless mic was not recording audio for some clips, which is very weird. First time it happens, so voice over me, hello, will take you on through the next few clips. Now, there was an issue with the V-band clip. No matter what we have done, we weren't able to get it on correctly, which is something I've already spotted when I was kind of putting the exhaust together in my room. And there is still one minor exhaust leak on the V-band clip, but this is, you know, future me talking. Now, the back portion of the exhaust, it was pleasantly easy to put on. A single person can do it, and it's not the same with the, you know, bulky OEM exhaust. So there were no issues with the back portion of the exhaust. What I'm going to do here, just to show you how the exhaust sound, is I'm just going to connect the valves through the trunk, and it's just going to be for testing because later on we are going to be connecting it, I want to say properly, but you will see towards the end of the video. And yeah, one thing that I want to mention why this is so special, again, that clip was also lost, is there were so many days, weeks, months where each day before work and each day in work when I was able to catch a breather, and after work I was able to watch E92 M3 videos with a titanium exhaust, specifically downshifts, accelerations, and it was something that helped me get through the day. And here I was ready to hear the cold start of my own E92 M3 with the titanium exhaust that I really wanted. And it was special for both me and my brother. I know my brother was watching this. Hopefully you can get your E92 M3 soon so we can both be rocking our titanium exhaust, and the content is just going to be overall better with two E92 M3s in the family. So yeah, enjoy the cold start. Thanks to my brother again for getting the clips with an iPhone, because again, those clips were also lost. So you're able to hear those clips thanks to my brother. And yeah, voice over me out. Voice over me once again. Now, a few things I forgot to mention. First off, yes, I did wipe down the entire exhaust before starting it up for the very first time. And yes, there was a lot of smoke. I guess the proper term to call this would be exhaust needs to burn in. But the main reason why I'm here is to let you know that I've just edited this part and I've heard mine and my brother's reaction. I haven't included that. And it was just so rewarding to hear. And it just felt so good. From time to time, I go back to my older videos, to those key moments, just to listen back, like me getting my M3 for the very first time. And it just feels so rewarding. And I hope that you will get this feeling if it's with getting your first car mod or whatever. But it is just such a rewarding feeling to work for something and then be finally able to achieve your goal. And it's not, you know, some minor goal. It is like a key kind of moment in your life, because for me this car is a very key moment in my life. And I guess that's what I wanted to mention. Maybe my future self will watch this and be like, hell yeah. But voice over me out. It's currently day 2. I haven't done any filming because there were like little few bits and pieces that I wanted to kind of see and kind of familiarize myself with. And this was meant to be easy, but there are a few problems. First of all, there's a bunch of exhaust leaks, and there's no way to kind of, I don't know, properly clamp the pipes together. So, for example, right here, hopefully you can see, there's an exhaust leak happening here. We've tried different orientations on this piece right here, but no matter what we do, there is a little exhaust leak here. This is fine, and you can already see how kind of like squeezed, let me see, if squeezed this pipe is. So it kind of bent into itself. Everywhere else, there are no exhaust leaks. There's a very minor one here. It maybe is even a vibration on and not an exhaust leak. Here, there's no exhaust leak whatsoever, but there's a bit of fluid building up. Same here. So there's no actual exhaust leak, like you can't feel anything, but there's a bit of fluid building up. Now, second thing, the more annoying thing I think is the actual valve system. So in order to run the cables, we obviously have to run it towards the battery, and apparently here we should have been able to kind of pass the cables up to where the battery is. There's this ventilation thing on the side which I wanted to use, but it's hitting the actual sled or whatever it's called of the bumper. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put everything back together. So I'm going to take all of the covers, put them on, and I'm going to roll the car out, because there's no way for me to undo this wheel. If I undo this wheel, I'll be able to take off the wheel arch, and whenever I'll take off the wheel arch, I may be able to kind of slide my hand in order to pass the valve cables. But yeah, it's already like so dark, but it's only like what, 4:30, maybe even 5 p.m. Okay, so let me turn this light off, not to blind you, but you can see that the covers are on. Now, I've told you that I've tried kind of maneuvering those kind of back and forth, but you can see that there's water here. I have moved them right to like the very edge, and none of it seems to be fixing the exhaust leak. Now, hopefully you can still see me, but here on the back, like again, you can't really feel the exhaust leak, but you can see the condensation building up, and it looks to be coming through like the little slits that were in the exhaust, which were there essentially for kind of binding as you clamp the exhaust. Okay, so there has been a big breakthrough. We were able to get the cables through, because there were people that just passed the cable down from. See, I think that they had a different hull. Like, I've used the vents, and in order to get this past the vents, you can't go into the vents, you have to go from outside of the vents, because this right here, this plug, is so much bigger than what goes into that receiver, let's call it. This goes to the valve, and so the best way to do it is to actually get it passed through from here. So do you want to come around? Here I have undone every single I guess bolt, screw, whatever you want to call it, and what I've done was I've pulled this part back like so. Actually do it from the bottom, it's much easier from the bottom. Obviously pay attention not to break anything, but look here, you can barely see it. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to see it, but this there, like, you have to trust me, there's a vent down there. This vent is where you pass through the cables. Do you want to go show them the vent on the other side while I gently put this back in? So what you're seeing right now, I've got the mic so you should be able to hear me, is the vent. Now, in that vent, this is where our cables will pass through. Now, I'm going to show you something from underneath the car, essentially where the cable is going to go. So, cameraman, can I have the camera, please? Thank you. So we are under the car, and I'll do my best to show you what's going on. So there was a plastic cover right here, which is down there on the ground. I had to take it off. I had to also take this part off because there were 2 or 3 bolts hidden behind this thermal shield. And here is essentially where we are going to route our cables, just around so they come out from behind the heat shield right here. So once I will actually route the cables, I'll show you how I routed the cables, but we're almost done. And we're going to tap into the IBM or IBS. Is it IBS? IBS, Intelligent Battery System. I'll show you how I'm going to do things, but we're going to do them properly in another video because I just don't have the equipment to do it the way I would like to do it. We have our cables for the valves right here. Now, there's a little flap. Hopefully you can see. Let me open it. So right here, technically, if we plug in our cable, we will be connected to the IBS. And the IBS is an intelligent battery, I guess, system or whatever. And it prevents drainage of the battery when the car is asleep. So when the car is off and there's something draining the battery, because like let's say for example you've got one of those things in, it is going to not allow the battery drain to occur. Now I'm going to show you what we're going to do right here. I'm going to bring it up to the light. So I was wondering what this is until I kind of understood what this is. So this here is an actual fuse. So the way it works is one of those legs is a continuous part of this cable. So the way we're going to connect this eventually, when I'll get the connector that clips on, because I don't want to be soldering and doing like a very bad job at it, we are going to take this fuse, we're going to get the other cable and we're going to bring that over to the IBS, and only then this will go back to our power cable. Now the ground is going to be back where the ground is, so we can have it at the negative terminal of the battery, or there is actually a negative terminal right here. I know it's hard to tell, but it's like right here. Hopefully you can see we've got one cable running to the positive terminal and the other one is running to the negative terminal. Okay, so there are 3 things to be done outside of this video. Probably we are going to go on a little test drive and all in this video, but I'm gonna have a proper test drive video coming up after this probably. But 3 things that we're gonna have to do in a separate video now, because I think that this is already too long. We're gonna have to put a new tune onto the car just to remove the catalytic converter emissions error. We're gonna have to redo the wiring. I'm gonna order the parts that I need today, like little, I think they're called whatever, metal brackets that go onto the fuse, and we need to crimp them, whatever it's called. And thirdly, we are going to have to fix the exhaust leak. Now exhaust leaks are bad. The car is just going to underperform. We're going to lose probably a bunch of torque, and I find it really annoying that the exhaust came with like those little shitty clamps. Like I don't know how we have so many exhaust leaks. So I'll tell you what I've done, just so you don't say that we have over tightened it and deformed the exhaust. So initially we have tightened the actual clamps just enough for it to not wiggle around. We've powered on the car, exhaust leaks everywhere, as to be expected. What happened then was we have kind of tightened each one, and that's how we have kind of eliminated the exhaust leaks. Now some of them were just there and there is no way to get rid of them, which is very annoying. Now this is much better, you'll be able to hear me now, but we're gonna get a few runs with the valves open, with the valves closed. We're gonna go lower PM, higher PM, and yeah, we're gonna use the DJI mic, which is what I've used to record the cold start and the original exhaust. I'm gonna try to tie in a few clips, but it is so cold, and I literally had to take a half day off at work to film this video, and I got 2 more other videos that I wanna film today. Now let's hop into the car. I am going to give you a few initial thoughts, I guess, and I'll show you a few downshifts, how they sound within the car. And then right after, I'm going to get to filming a video where I talk more about the exhaust, because I feel like there's more to this exhaust. It's definitely not for everyone. There are things I wish I knew before getting this, and there is also like a specific way to drive this car with this exhaust to have the most fun. So I'm going to be discussing all sorts of those things, I guess. So now let's hop into the car and talk some more. So we're in the car, valves are open, and let us start the car. Are they open? Now they are open. Okay, now very first minor issue with the buttons. So there are 2 buttons technically right here, hopefully you can see. And to turn off the valves or to, you know, close the flaps, pressing this works most of the time. Now, if you want to open up the valves, you have to press this part right here, and you cannot press it too hard because it will close and open the valves really quickly, or open and close valves really quickly, which is kind of annoying. You just have to get used to it. So you press this somewhere here, and essentially you end up pressing one button instead of the two. So the windows are currently open. Let's get that downshift a second. Like, it just whips. It is such a good sound. But let's close the windows for now, and this is how it is without or with the windows open. Now let's close the valves because we are driving into the housing area, and I don't really want problems with anyone about this exhaust. I really would be looking to run this for as long as I can without any issues. But yeah, next video we're going to be talking about the exhaust itself. I know that the lighting is a bit kind of iffy. I do have the ISO set to automatic, but I don't think that this video went how I expected. I thought that the whole mounting of the exhaust is gonna go a lot smoother. There were like little issues and things I wish I knew, and I wish I had the hardware. Also, we have to redo the wiring. That's gonna be another separate video because I have ordered the parts. I'm just waiting for them to arrive, and that's gonna be a second video. But there's also a third video which I'm gonna record a POV drive. So we're gonna get a lot of content out of this exhaust. But hopefully this video showed you how kind of working on the car actually is, if you are, you know, just a person who likes cars and working on cars that isn't a professional. You know, there are things that you aren't aware of unless you do them yourself for the first time. Okay, where was I? Yeah, there are certain things you have to do yourself for the first time in order to fully understand what you're doing and how to do them. Even if you see it on video, it's not really the same. Video will help you, but in the end it is going to be slightly different. So if you've made it this far into the video, hope you have enjoyed. Again, like, winter is coming. I took a half day just to get as much content recorded. Technically, hopefully we should have about 3 more weeks, maybe 4, before the snow actually properly comes and won't allow us to actually drive the car out. Now the snow is gonna melt, but the worst thing about it is the actual salt that they use to melt the snow, and we don't want salt and water underneath our car. And yeah, that's basically it. So if you've made it this far, again, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you have enjoyed, hopefully you have learned something new, and let me know what you think about the exhaust. Did you expect something else? Is it as good as you have expected? All of those opinions you will hear in the next video. But again, hopefully you're having a nice day, a nice weekend, and I wish you the very best of your day, your week, your weekend, whatever it is currently where you're at. And yeah, to the next one.